Hello and welcome to True Crime Daily, the podcast covering high profile and under the radar cases from across the country every week. We have a special web extra for you today. I'm Anna Garcia, and joining me is Dr. Judy Ho, who is a clinical and forensic psychologist. And you can see that we are very much doing the safer at home protocols, and we are doing this from each of our homes on the other end of Southern California. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Anna. How are you today?
I'm well. I'm very happy to see you. It always makes me happy because of this isolation to have this connection with someone.
Me too.
This is a case that you and I actually covered on a previous podcast, and it's a very, very disturbing case, and there are a few updates, so we thought we would update everyone on what's going on. This is the case involving a former NYPD cop, because he's been put on suspension. Michael Valva is 40 years old. He and his fiancee, Angela Polina, they lived together in this home on Long Island, and they had a blended family. Each one had children. She had girls, he had boys. They have both been charged with murder in the death of this is Michael Valva's, the father's, his 8-year-old son, Thomas, who was also autistic. He basically froze to death in the garage. The father just left him out there. I think the temperature outside was something like 19 degrees when this happened. And he made up this story when he called the paramedics, saying that the kid was actually on his way walking to the school bus and that he collapsed. And the surveillance videos from all the neighboring houses showed that that wasn't true. And the child froze to death. Unfortunately, the two of them were arrested for this, but there are so many issues with this case, Dr. Judy. You know, it appears that there were years of abuse this abuse was just pounded on these boys.
Yes, and it's so sad because there was a very, very long history. And it sounds like there were multiple calls made to Suffolk County's Child Protective Services. And it's interesting because it seems like they somehow weren't taken seriously enough. At least that's the opinion of Thomas's biological mother. And I do wonder sometimes what's going on with that. And I have seen Child Protective Services just be a very overburdened system. There's a lot of turnover. So I think maybe sometimes the continuity of information maybe is also part of the info that, you know, they don't realize that this family has been investigated so many times. And this is clearly something that had unfolded over time.
It did. And there are a lot of people, I think, if you have to share some blame here, obviously the father without question. But I think it's the court system because, you know, the father was a cop. He got sole custody. The mother was trying to get joint custody. And she's an immigrant with an accent. And who are you going to believe, the New York City cop or the mom? So custody is given to him. I say preferential treatment. This family also, you know, had a year of supervision. Because there were so many problems, they got through the supervision program. But then when they came to check up on the family and there was no one home, no one followed up. I mean, it was like one misstep after the other. But finally, we're hearing from the father, Michael Valva. He has a court-appointed attorney, and he claims that Thomas's death was a nightmarish, accidental death and clearly not a murder. Well, let's think about this. You put a child in a garage without a pillow, a blanket, anything to sleep on. You don't feed this child. It's 19 degrees outside. What exactly do you think is going to happen other than death?
Exactly. And I don't think that a alibi of, I just didn't know that was going to kill him makes any sense here. This is common sense, people. You do not have to be a medical doctor or a nurse to know that this is going to be the eventual outcome if you do this to a child.
And, you know, not only is he going to stand trial and his, you know, live-in girlfriend going to stand trial, but actually the whole system taking care of children in Suffolk County may also be going on trial, if you will, because after Thomas's death, the Suffolk County Child Protective Services decided that they had to look at what in the world was going on and who dropped the ball and how they dropped the ball. So the district attorney has said that they have assembled a team of experts and prosecutors in the area to go through this child's death to figure out who was ultimately responsible, if the system was also responsible. So there could be, some more criminal charges coming here, and the finger pointed also at Child Protective Services, which frankly, I think needs to be done.
I think it's time. And I think, and again, I understand how overburdened the system is, but there was clearly a ball dropped here. They do need to do an investigation, get to the bottom of it. And I think that this is going to help reform. And in fact, since Thomas's death, the CPS Transformation Act, which is a collective of 6 bills, was introduced. And now it's expected that it's going to help the system with these new laws, including a specialized unit for all cases involving children with special needs. Now, I think this is huge, Anna, because children with special needs, they don't communicate the same way. They don't have the same types of behavioral challenges. And people who generally start working as CPS in the beginning, they're younger social workers, and they may not have had the specialized training needed to really understand what it is to work with a family of children with special needs. And so this is going to be transformative, I think, because maybe there should only be several individuals who can be assigned to a suspected case where a special needs child is residing in the home.
And the biological mother has always been very vocal. She was always concerned about the level of abuse. And she had actually videotaped her children. And it's really scary when you actually hear Thomas in his own words talking before he was killed about what they were experiencing. And she was posting these on Twitter. And it's interesting because it never really got a lot of attention or traction. And she had filed complaints, but for whatever reason, no one ever followed up on them. So now she's been posting them on YouTube, and it's just so chilling to hear the surviving brother of Thomas talk about the level of abuse and what was going on. Andrew is talking in these videos how he said that he lived such a tortured life, and what was going on in there. He tells his mom how his 2 brothers were made to sleep in the garage as cold as snow, was his word, with no pillows, rarely getting fed. He talks about the bruises that he had everywhere from regular beatings he said he got from his father. He said that the reason they were put in the garage, this is all in the videos, is because they kept peeing themselves. So I think they were peeing themselves because they were so traumatized and scared, so fearful that whatever they did or said was going to land them back in the garage. Of course they were peeing themselves. And, school administrators had written up several reports about the kids arriving to school with their pants soiled, dirty, and hungry. Always hungry. Why? Because the father, allegedly withheld food and water.
And this is just so disgusting to me that a parent would deny their children basic needs for life. And the first time we covered this case, I think we were both angry about this too, that why are you doing this? For what purpose? And if you hate children so much, why did you have them? It's every time I hear more details coming out from this case, it just angers me even more that somebody could do this to deny basic needs to a helpless child. And in this case, several children.
And also, why did the father fight the mother so hard for custody of these children who have special needs?
Yeah.
Right? What
sense
does that make? Because they need more attention from the parent, right? And if that's bothering you and you don't want that, then why not have the mother gladly take care of them? The whole thing is so screwed up.
And it feels like a power struggle, just like the first time we covered it and we talked about it. It's almost like he just wants to win that battle, but it's not because he actually seems to like hanging out with the children. He does not seem to love them. So it's more about making the mom miserable, which is ridiculous that people use their children as pawns in whatever battle they're having with their partners or ex-partners. It's just disgusting.
And we also want to make clear that the couple, both of them, that they have entered pleas of not guilty, and they are being held without bond, and they've been charged with second degree murder. I guess they're claiming this is not premeditated, and that probably, I don't know. Actually, I could argue. I'd make a strong argument for murder one on this one, because it's just so disgusting. So what's going on now is that the biological mother, Justina, has filed a petition for sole physical and legal custody, because they obviously have to go somewhere, and the kids are definitely being monitored. And the reports back to the court are very good, that the children are flourishing, doing very well, and they're well fed. But now the biological mother, is arguing with the judge, and she's saying, you know what, this is the same system that failed my other son. So I want these people out of my house, because I don't think they're helping. Right. This is where actually I kind of agree with the courts. I think the system failed, absolutely, completely failed this child. Yeah. But now you have surviving children. It is incumbent that it is so important that the system now do everything possible to maintain the safety and the health of these children. Not because the mother's going to do anything, but because they're going to need a lot of help, a lot of therapy. And, they've been traumatized.
I agree. And I think that these children, at the very least, need to go and receive professional services to deal with the trauma, the years of trauma they've endured. And it is great that they're thriving now in the moment. But when somebody is abused for as long as they have been, it really is detrimental to your entire state of well-being, your own identity, how you see other individuals, whether or not you believe you can ever trust anyone again. And these are long-term issues that sometimes don't fully manifest until these individuals are older. So prevention is key. Let's get them into professional services and get them the support they need so that they can continue to flourish into their adult lives.
Dr. Judy, do you agree with the mother that she wants CPS out of her life and out of her home? Or do you believe that there has to be some true supervision here from the courts?
I think that at least for a time, they have to try and work together, because there is something to be said about CPS being involved. And it's not just a policing type of a role that she's describing. It's that they can give some of those resources we just talked about, access to professional counselors, maybe for low cost or no cost. And I think the mother's been through a lot herself, and she probably needs a little bit of help and support on her end as a parent. And so I think for those reasons, it might be good for CPS to stay involved for a little while longer. But I do understand that in some ways, having CPS around is almost like a re-traumatization of sorts. And at the very least, I hope it's different people working on this case, people that she can have a fresh start with. And I hope that the line of communication has been established, that if she has a concern about CPS, someone is listening on the other end this time.
I get that she doesn't trust them. I get it. I really, really do. I don't trust them either. So I could see why she's hesitant, but I do fear that because of the situation, if you completely remove the courts from this, it probably isn't the best idea right now,
Agree.
Thank you, Judy, so much for your insight on this case. We are certainly going to follow it closely because it's not over yet. And we promise we will bring you those updates as we get them. Everyone, stay safe and healthy.